Hey everybody, so last week we had to postpone the show. Joe and I got finals week. I was sick for like 5 or 6 days straight. Joe's got a big programming project. I have a job. A lot of things going on in our life. We promised that there would be a video that wasn't the podcast, and to this date right now, nothing has come out between there. And we actually were honestly just going to go from podcast to podcast and just do it. We're just going to do it that way. We didn't want to have a gap like that, but sadly it had to happen. And this video I'm recording right now is only going to be uploaded the day before the podcast. So on Thursday, should be the 27th, we'll have a new podcast up. But I had a talking point that I wanted to talk about because I've been thinking lately about championship title reigns and world title wins and what they mean and what the importance of them are. So basically, as we saw recently, we had John Cena win his 16th World Championship at the Royal Rumble. He won it from AJ Styles, and he only held it for 2 weeks, and he gave it up to Bray Wyatt at Elimination Chamber. And then Bray Wyatt holds it for a month and a half and gives it to Randy Orton. And before that, AJ Styles had it for a long time, but it's been hot potato as of late, and it made me think, what is more important to WWE or to these wrestlers or to the championship? Is it the fact that these wrestlers are winning the title at all? Or is it more important to hold it for a long time? Because in my head, you are solidified. You are the real deal. You are important if you hold the title for a long time. Like when Batista won the championship, WrestleMania 21, he held it until he got injured, I believe. And same with John Cena. They held those titles for nearly a year. JBL holds the title for nearly a year. Holding the title and keeping it is extremely important. If you don't go a full pay-per-view schedule, a full pay-per-view period without successfully defending it and winning clean. I mean, okay, you're a heel, you don't win clean. You're Kevin Owens, you hold it for 6 months. Kevin Owens had an very impressive Universal title run. It wasn't always great on Raw for those months, but he kept winning, and it was through his heelish tactics, and he did a great job. He is a great heel, and his Universal title run, while it wasn't all good, and I don't think it was all his fault, a lot of it was great, and I like that. He held it for 6 months, from August to March, so hats off to him, and it was a big deal that he won it in the first place, and he held it for a long time. But I think WWE thinks that winning the title in the first place is a big deal, is the bigger deal than holding it for a long time. That's why WWE has this moment that they can hold and save for a big event, like John Cena tying Ric Flair's record for 16 world championships. But what do? They give it to him and let him take and win his 16th world title at Royal Rumble against AJ Styles. And of course, it was a fantastic match. It was just as good as their SummerSlam match. Maybe the stakes were bigger because it was for the championship, but it was also, I don't know, it felt like the similar match. It was still great. But they have this ace up their sleeve of John Cena winning his 16th world title, and it could have made it a big deal with huge build. And if you're going to win your 16th, your record-breaking world championship, shouldn't there be a reign, a storyline built around it, a reign for this championship? Why would they have John Cena win this title and then only hold it for 2 weeks? I don't understand the point. It becomes a numbers game. Like when you look at Sasha and Charlotte, they want Charlotte to look really good. So they're like, okay, she's a 4-time women's champion. Yeah, okay, well, she lost it on Raw 3 separate times in a few months to the same wrestler over and over again. And while they were good matches, it's just okay, is she really that great of a wrestler if she's losing it all the time? If you have someone like Bruno Sammartino holds it for 2,000 or 3,000 days and never loses it, you go, holy shit. No one remembers a single wrestler from Bruno Sammartino's era. At least, I'll be honest, I can't. Maybe I don't study enough, but he's the one you remember. Do you know why? Because he was the champion and he had a reign. No one beat him. He was the champion. He was the person you looked forward to. He was the person who main evented Raw, and he was the person who main evented SmackDown and main evented pay-per-views. Obviously, Bruno Sammartino didn't have those two shows, but I'm talking about modern day wrestlers. They should be the ones main eventing their show if they have the world title. If you are the world title, you have no excuse to not be going on last. And WWE also likes to have this big thing with this recently, with SummerSlam ends with a non-title match. Survivor Series ends with a non-title match. WrestleMania ends with a non-title match. Since there's 2 titles now, and they're both... Back in the day when there was a SmackDown and Raw, they had the World Heavyweight Championship on one brand and their own WWE Championship on the other. And everybody said the WWE Championship was the real number one, and the World Heavyweight Championship, which was from WCW, was the number 2, just a slight number 2, only because it wasn't their belt. Well, now both of their world titles are theirs. One has a lot more history and the other doesn't, but they have 2 world title belts, and if they don't want to have favoritism for one or the other, they can't put either on last on something like WrestleMania. So they have Roman Reigns, Undertaker, and obviously Undertaker had to go on last. He's the Undertaker. But I just think it peeves me off a little bit that, like today, we have a match, as of how I'm watching it today, Naomi and Charlotte have a match for Charlotte's Women's Championship. And I don't know who won or lost yet, but I know there's a huge chance that Charlotte could win it. And then what does Naomi have? A 2 or 3 week reign again. Obviously, her first reign wasn't her fault, but Alexa got the title back for like 45 days. It's like, maybe for mid-card titles, I can understand not having very long reigns, but even then for mid-card titles, I can understand having long reigns, because it's like, if you can't solidify somebody as a main eventer, at least solidify them as a bona fide mid-carder. I just don't understand the thought process. And I think that WWE needs to, if they're going to have title victories, they need to have title reigns built around them. Because there is no title victory, and it never feels victorious. And when you look back on it, it never looks good if there was never a reign. Like, we can all feel triumphant about Zack Ryder winning the IC title at WrestleMania 32 and call it a good moment. And it does feel good. It's a good moment. But it's with an asterisk. And the asterisk is that he only held it for one day. So that feel-good moment just kind of comes, It's like you root for a football team all year, and the underdog football or baseball team makes it to the playoffs, and then the first round, they're in the wild card game. It's single game elimination, but they celebrated the night before because they got there. They were barely even going to make the playoffs, but oh my God, they made the playoffs. Let's have a big celebration for it. Then they make it to the playoffs and they lose the first game, and it's like, okay, cool, they had a good season. Like, look at the Cinderella season. They made it to the playoffs. They were never expected to make it to the playoffs. Zack Ryder was never expected to win the IC title in this match. Oh, but the next day he lost. So is it really that big of a deal? Title victories, while exciting, there needs to be a reign behind them. Like, I can be happy knowing one of my favorite wrestlers, Dolph Ziggler, is a 2-time world champion, but guess what? There's another asterisk, because the first time he won it, he only held it for a night and lost it the same night. That's humiliating. And whenever you look at those 2 world title victories, they'll advertise it as 2 world title wins and reigns, but it's still terrible. Like, you shouldn't look at them good, but they just sound good as a number, so they'll advertise that number, and they can advertise a number without having to advertise the story behind the numbers. And then Dolph Ziggler wins the title the second time and only holds it for 2 months, and it's just like, it's tough. So at least in the current landscape of how we're looking at things, I don't know how long Randy Orton's going to hold the title. I don't know how long Brock Lesnar is going to hold the title. I think Brock Lesnar is going to hold it for a good long time, because he's Brock Lesnar and he gets paid the most in the company. He's one of the biggest draws. So at least we're safe there. But I don't know that until AJ Styles gets it back again, I think it's going to be a hot potato, sadly. Because that's how the world title's been. Why would you give the title to John Cena just for him to hold it for 2 weeks? I just don't understand the thought process, and I think WWE needs to make it so there's an equal distribution in how much care they put into world title wins versus world title reigns. There needs to be equal weight put in there. You need to make it feel like a big moment or a surprising moment when someone wins the world title. Like, it needs to be a big moment, but that shouldn't be the biggest moment of the entire reign. Like, during a reign, the belt needs to be talked about. There needs to be moments where this guy, if they're supposed to, dominates. They have moments, and you're like, wow, that was a good championship run. The reason we all remember AJ Styles having a great championship run is because he had great matches. Maybe not against Ellsworth, that kind of ruined him, but he was on top, and he had a great triple threat with Dolph and Baron Corbin. He had a great title feud with Dean. He didn't hold it for that long. He held it for 4 months, 5 months. It was like what was it? It was Backlash to Royal Rumble. So he only held it for like 3 or 4 months. But then we look at Dean and his reign. Like, the best part about his reign, in my opinion, was him winning it. Money in the Bank. That was so exciting. Like, it was so much fun to watch. One of my favorite moments of 2016. But when I think back at it, there was only one more moment of his reign that was exciting, and it was Battleground whenever he won the Shield triple threat. Otherwise, he had a match against Dolph Ziggler that wasn't very exciting, and he gave it to AJ Styles at Backlash, and it transferred, and that was a good match. But maybe the world title win can be a big part, like the biggest part of but it shouldn't always. You need to have moments during, and there needs to be reigns. That's all I have to say. I don't know if we're going to make this a consistent thing, but I just wanted to talk. This is a little Schaub's talking points. Schaub's, a Schaub sesh. Schaub sesh. That's what we'll call these, maybe. Schaub sesh, where I talk to you guys. So tell me what you think in the comments below. Sorry that we were gone, but guess what? We have summer coming. We have Payback this weekend. I'm happy to be back talking to you guys, because I enjoy what I do. Thank you very much, and you guys have a good one.